What's up? It's episode 1 of the Swing It podcast. Here we are. We did it. Hopefully, this is the first of many podcasts. Like a million, probably. We'll see. All my socials, all 2 of them, are right down there. Twitter, Instagram. Twitter is at SwingItPod. And Instagram is at SwingItPodcast. Cast is the only difference. You know, if you flip them, you'll find it. You can figure it out. If you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, you don't need it because you can see it. So there you go. So I will be uploading every weekend. I'm not exactly sure when it'll be. I'm recording every Thursday night, like right now, but you don't know that because you're listening after I post it. So, anyways. Yeah, every Thursday night I'll be recording, so it'll be up hopefully by the weekend. So that's the plan. So, without further ado, here we go. Biggest story. Obviously, it's already been talked about on ESPN for way too long. So, I'm still going to talk about it because it's too big to not talk about. LeBron and AD. So, in my humble opinion, I think Anthony Davis is going to be the best big man that LeBron has ever played with. And I don't think that's like a super hot take by any means. I think Chris Bosh is like the next best besides, I don't know, Ilgauskas was pretty solid on that 07 championship run team. But no, it's, he's going to be the best. So I'm really excited to see how they run that pick and roll. Not sure who's going to stop it or how they plan on stopping it, but the league's in some trouble. So the biggest thing for me though was them keeping Kyle Kuzma. That was absolutely huge. They had Lonzo Ball, they had Brandon Ingram, they had Josh Hart. Josh Hart probably would have been good for them to keep. Just because they're going to need shooters. But, I mean, if that's the price they had to pay to get Anthony Davis, then you're not going to pass that up. But keeping Kuzma off the table was amazing for them because he's another guy who can take the load off of LeBron, off of Anthony Davis if one of them goes an extended period of time with injuries throughout the season or, God forbid, in the playoffs, which it sucked to see both Warriors players go down. It'll be good for them to have Kuzma there to take the workload away from them if necessary. So the biggest thing they're going to have to do, so they have Kuzma, LeBron, AD. After that, they have a bunch of misfits, which I don't know why last season I saw the lineup and I was like, on paper, this looks good if the team was, I don't know, like 5 years younger, because Rondo in his prime would have been great. I don't think it would have been good on a LeBron team, just because every LeBron team that has ever been successful in any shape or form has been with him surrounded by a bunch of shooters, because he has great court vision. He can draw in however many defenders kick it out, and that's what keeps them in ball games. So there's a bunch of different free agents they can sign to make this happen. So we got Trevor Ariza, I think would be one of the best options for them. He can stretch the floor. He kind of had a down year shooting the 3 last season, but he has a solid track record of 3-point shooting, and he's a solid long defender. I think he'd be one of their best signings. Patrick Beverley, I think, would be a terrific signing for them. He is he's a point guard. Like, they don't need a point guard that is ball dominant. And I think Kyrie was like, he did well and he took the pressure off, but that's because they didn't have someone like Anthony Davis on the team where he'll be able to actually rely on someone else to make plays from the post, because Kevin Love did that to a certain extent, but they mainly just used him as a stretch 4 and a spot up shooter, which, I mean, it worked. Like, kudos to them. But having Anthony Davis will be a little bit different. So they don't really need a ball dominant point guard where Patrick Beverley could fill that role perfectly. He's a huge defensive presence. He's a pest. Gets under people's skin in the games. And I think his overall demeanor would be really good for that team. Him and LeBron could feed off of each other because LeBron loves players like that. That's why he fits so well with Lance Stevenson, as he's the same kind of player where he just thrives on pissing off the other team, and that's what Patrick Beverley does really well. Not to mention he's a great 3-point shooter. He shot 39.7% from 3 last season. Perfect fit. Wayne Ellington is another solid addition they could make. Obviously, he's not as well defensively as someone like Patrick Beverley or Ariza, but he's still a solid shooter, and that's what they need to be looking for, is just people who can just spot up and hit threes and still play solid defense and not be really a liability. JJ Redick is one of those. He would be kind of a liability on defense. I think he's been a little better lately, but his lack of defense may be a little bit shadowed by the teams he's been on. So hopefully, if they do end up signing him, which would be more money than someone like Wayne Ellington or Patrick Beverley, but I think he'd be worth it because he shoots 41% for his career from 3, which is absolutely insane. So I think he would be, if they can come up with the money for him, I think it would be worth it. Kemba Walker, there was rumblings about him possibly joining the Lakers. Granted, there's been rumblings about literally every single player. There's probably rumblings about me joining the Lakers somewhere. So he would be a third playmaker, which I don't think they need because they already have 3 pretty solid ones with Kuzma, LeBron, and AD. Granted, Kuzma's not really on the level that Kemba is, obviously, but I don't think they need someone on Kemba's level in order to be successful. They already have, 2 ball dominant players who can create their own shots. Kemba would be able to push the tempo well, which I think, obviously LeBron he thrives in a high, fast-paced offense. So in that regard, he'd be good. I just feel bad because Kemba Walker has said that he's willing to sign for less than the max to stay with Charlotte. I just feel really bad for him just being stuck in Charlotte because I loved watching him at UConn and just watching his career just kind of get stuck in Charlotte with never just a solid team. I think the best player he's ever played with is Nick Batum. Like, he's not bad, but he shouldn't ever be the best player. I mean, maybe Al Jefferson. You could make an argument he was maybe the best. Either way, I just feel bad for the guy. I would like to see him on a winning team. So if he joined the Lakers, I wouldn't be opposed to it. So the main thing I'd like to see the Lakers do if they want to be successful is not really sign another max player like Kawhi Leonard or Kemba Walker, or even if they don't want to spend all the money on JJ Redick, just sign depth. You look at what happened to the Warriors this past season in the playoffs. Like, KD went down in the Rockets series and then came back towards Achilles. Klay Thompson with the torn ACL in Game 7, and once KD went down, you could really start to notice their lack of depth from their bench, and that's because they spent all this money on the three stars. Not to mention, DeMarcus Cousins they got for a discount, which don't feel bad for you at all trying to take a discount just to get a free ring. Whatever, don't feel bad. And I'm glad they didn't win. Not that I'm glad that, KD, Clay, and Curry lost. Whatever. I'm just glad that DeMarcus wasn't able to get his ring. I'm cool with that. I like the dude, but you tried a little cheap way to get a ring, and I'm not about it. So yeah, I just think they don't want to try to play AD and LeBron all 82 games. that would be awful. Like LeBron takes really good care of his body. So he hasn't really had the biggest injury he's had was his one last season where he missed however many games with his groin injury. But they're going to have to definitely implement some load management. So I think just them signing depth would be their best move instead of just trying to get another max player and just throw money at, 3 solid, really, really solid superstars, and just stick with AD, LeBron, and then just throw those 3-and-D players around them. They'd be a force regardless. So, new look Pelicans. I'm actually really impressed with the way the Pelicans handled the trade request from a trade demand, I guess, from AD, because when he came out and demanded a trade in the middle of the season, it really put them in a tough spot because they didn't have leverage because all the other teams know obviously he wants out, so we don't have to offer as much. But they knew that the Lakers would offer more than he was maybe worth because of their need to win now. Anytime you have LeBron on your team and it's not a guaranteed contract for so many years, you don't know how long he's going to be there. So the Lakers know we have to make moves now if we want to have a chance, because LeBron isn't going to be around forever and he's not going to have time to develop all these younger players like Lonzo and Ingram to develop into what their potential would be eventually, because by that time LeBron's going to be either gone or he'll be not the same LeBron, which we've been saying that for 8 years now, and he's still the same LeBron. So but what they were able to do though with Anthony Davis and getting this is what they got total from just Anthony Davis. They got Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, the number 8, 17, and 35th pick in this year's draft. And then they got 1, 2, 3, 4 more picks later on from 2021 and on. So they could probably draft, Bronny Jr., Zara Wade. I'd be cool. I'm so excited to see them in the league at some point. I really hope that LeBron is still, LeBron when Bronny Jr. enters the league. I think it'd be really cool to see them play against each other or even together. I think that'd be cool. So Julius Randle opted out of his player option, which I think was super smart on his part. Anytime a player opts out, it's because they want more money, obviously. And I think the Pelicans should be able to offer him enough to stay. They have a young core, and I think they got some cash considerations from the Lakers also in that trade. I may be wrong on that. But I think Julius Randle, he had his best season last season of his career, which was great for him in a contract year. Good timing on his part. But I think he'd be a really good fit with New Orleans. He's been around long enough to be able to be a somewhat veteran presence on that team. A team full of young guys. I'm just not super high on Brandon Ingram. I don't think he'll pan out to be what people think he's supposed to be, if that makes sense. I just haven't seen any flashes of brilliance that shows me that he's going to be this superstar one day. I think he'll be a solid role player. I just don't think he'll ever be to that point where, you'll be like, wow, like Brandon Ingram has arrived. You know what I mean? So, but back to Julius Randle. He's improved a lot since he came into the league. He's improved his jump shot. He's super athletic. He's a good rebounder. So if he does end up signing somewhere else, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. But I think him being on the Pelicans would be a great lineup with what they have. But with that being said, another thing that's probably going to happen is Donald Trump is going to walk into the Pelicans locker room and he's going to hire every single starter on the Pelicans team to build his wall, because they are going to be throwing up all of the bricks because they are a terrible three-point shooting team. So I looked this up because I thought to myself when I saw the trade of Lonzo, Ingram, Hart, outside of Hart, I don't think he'll be starting. So I'm kind of like leaving him out of this conversation because he's actually a good 3-point shooter. But outside of them, the best 3-point shooter, granted it's in college, so it doesn't really translate perfectly to the NBA, obviously. Zion is their best 3-point shooter. Because I thought it would be Drew Holiday. I was like, oh yeah, well outside of Drew, they're not going to have anybody that can shoot. Nope, he's actually the worst 3-point shooter of the starters, of the 4 I'm counting. So Zion, Ingram, Lonzo, and Drew Holiday. He's the worst at 32.5% last year. Zion shot 33.8% at Duke, which it's not the same. It'll take a dive in the NBA probably. Brandon Ingram, 33%. Lonzo Ball, 32.9%. League average is 35.5%. So they need to sign some shooters or kind of mix up that starting lineup, because that starting lineup by itself on paper looks really scary. But when it comes down to it, if you have a great defensive team like the Bucks or the Raptors, you're going to have some trouble scoring when they can just pack the paint and just let you fire those bricks from outside. So definitely need to mix it up, get some shooters in there if they want to have any kind of success. Granted, I don't think they're going to be making any kind of title runs in the next 1 or 2 years anyway, so they can kind of take their time and develop the players that are on the team, but they need to sign shooters. Ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it. All right, so Melo posted yet another one of his videos of him shooting and making baskets in an open gym by himself with no defenders. Melo. Like, okay, it's not even his fault, really. Like, I don't know if he's the one saying, like, hey, record this, dude. I'm about to make, like, 10 threes in a row. And he's going to be like, his assistant's probably like, damn it. Okay, whatever. I'm getting paid for this. Whatever. I'll record it. But, dude, he's been out. He's been out of the loop for so long. He hasn't had a great Melo season since he was on the Knicks, and it wasn't even since he was on the Knicks. It was before, like in the 2 or 3 years before he left the Knicks, where he was like one of the top NBA players, like top 15 players. So I'm not sure why. Like, I fell for the hype when he, after he kind of fell off the wagon, and then he posted the first one that kind of went viral, where he was shooting around, and it was like Hoodie Melo, where he's wearing the hoodie and he was just knocking down shot after shot. And I was like, oh man, Melo maybe making a run here. And then the Rockets pick him up. I know, who was it before that? There was another team, picked him up. Nope. And then another video came out the next summer where it was like, oh man, this could be it. And the Rockets pick him up. And then nope, not Melo. So what I want to see Carmelo Anthony make a video of him playing defense, okay? Play defense on one guy. Like, the guy that's getting your rebounds, just switch spots. You get the rebounds, pass it out, go close out, stop him from scoring 10 times in a row, and then I'll be pumped for you. I'll be impressed, and I'll be like, you know what? Melo may be back. Unless he's super out of breath at the end of stopping the player from scoring. Then I'm like, welp, he's not in basketball shape. Like, I like Melo. I want him to succeed, but dude, post something else. Post you playing defense. Post you doing some slide drills. Post you doing literally anything besides shooting with no one in your face. Okay? Just do that. And then, we'll see where it goes from there. So the T-Wolves are shopping Andrew Wiggins, apparently, which I'm not surprised about. He's obviously hasn't panned out to be the potential superstar that everyone thought he was going to be, which is and isn't his fault. Mostly it is, but I also feel like he was kind of given a pretty bad situation to start with. So that was the season that LeBron came back, and he was like, "Hey, what's up? Y'all miss me? Huh, let's win a championship." And then Wiggins was like, "Oh yeah, cool. I get to be like an integral part of, one of LeBron's championship runs." And then LeBron was like, "No. I don't have time for this. K-Love, come on." And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, all right, that's fine." And then you would expect, like, if someone did that, I mean, not to say like it was LeBron that did it, even though that's like the meme, like, "Oh yeah, LeBron, GM LeBron, Le GM." Like that would, if it was anyone else, or not anyone, but someone else with, more of like an attitude, then he would be playing with a chip on his shoulder, like, "Oh, I'm gonna show them that they made a mistake," right? Like that would be my mindset. Like, yeah, y'all are gonna miss me. Y'all shouldn't have traded me. But he just kind of, like he never really got to that point and showed those flashes of brilliance where, like, oh, this is gonna be a solid player, and they may have messed up by trading him. Granted, I don't think, even if he did pan out to be, a superstar 2 or 3 years down the road, I don't think they still would have regretted it, because with LeBron, you need to win now, while you have him, while he's still in his prime. So I don't think they would have, done it any other way. I still think they would have traded for Kevin Love, regardless of how Wiggins turned out. But he hasn't turned out to be what he was supposed to be. So in that regard, I do feel bad. I think he doesn't have the personality where he can just kind of take over and lead a team of young guys, like with Karl Anthony Towns, and raise them to that next level and make them great. And I think Karl Anthony Towns has more of that attitude than Wiggins does, but still not to the extent that they need in order to be great. Because every year we hear the same thing. The T-Wolves are going to be scary next year. And then the next year comes around, it's like, "Oh man, they got a solid squad. They got a good draft pick. Oh, they're going to be solid next year." And it never gets to that point where they are scary or they are threatening. And I think a big part of that is because they have Wiggins, who just kind of fell flat, and he doesn't have that drive, because different people are driven in different ways. They're motivated in different ways, not just in basketball, but just, people in general, like in the workplace, where they need like someone to really push them. They don't have that inner drive to push themselves, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I think it was in his case, because he didn't have that player on the T-Wolves to push him and make him better. He had Jimmy Butler this past season before he got traded. But he wasn't the type of leader that he needed. He was like a negative leader, kind of like Kobe was, where, see, that's the difference between like LeBron and Kobe. Their leadership styles were different. Like Kobe was like if you don't want to, play with the same intensity as me, if you don't want to match what I'm doing, then just go sit down. Don't even play. Don't be on the same court as me. You're not good enough to be on the court with me. Like that kind of mentality. Whereas LeBron is more of like the dad type, to just like kind of bring you along and, develop you and have that patience and still have high expectations for you. But it would be more of like a grooming type of leadership that I think Wiggins needs in order to get to the next level. So I would like to see the T-Wolves, if they don't end up finding a suitor for him, to sign a veteran, someone who can actually lead him, to motivate him to be great, and to get into the gym and work on the things that he needs to work on, and take care of his body, and work on those smaller things that I don't think he's doing. Granted, that's just me kind of grasping at what I think is going on, but that's just it's my opinion. And if he does go to a different team, I hope he goes to somewhere where they do have a veteran presence where they can kind of lift him up, because I would like to see him succeed. I know he has a potential to be great, but I want to see him get to that level, and I think he won't get there on his own. I don't think he has that drive to get there, but I would like to see someone kind of take him along and get him to that level. Congrats to the Raptors. It was awesome to see them win the championship. I'm super happy for Kyle Lowry. Loved watching him on the Rockets. Kawhi, obviously. Serge finally got his his championship after losing to the Heat when he was on the Thunder. It's cool to see Van Vliet kind of go from undrafted to being a key role player on a championship team. He knocked down some huge shots in those last couple games. So that was awesome to see. But where do they go from here? Kawhi is the biggest piece of this. I think without him, they'll still have a solid squad, especially how Siakam has improved. I think he'll be the most improved player, which they still haven't done the awards. Like, stop waiting so long. Like, do it. I get that they want to wait till after the playoffs are over. Like, that's fine. In a sense, I really just wish they would do it before the playoffs, to be honest, or like after the first round or something where it's still fresh in people's minds, because it's a regular season award. And then once the playoffs come around, people forget that it's a regular season award. And that's just how it goes. That's the narrative that gets pushed. And not that it's anybody's fault necessarily, because it's fresh on your mind. Like after the playoffs, you see like Kawhi plays differently. Like he plays way bigger in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. So if you look at just the playoffs, you would think, oh, like why isn't Kawhi in the top 3 of the MVP race or whatever it is? But then you go and forget that James Harden was regularly dropping, 40, 50 points a game like it was nothing. And then Giannis had the season that he had. Granted, neither one of them had amazing playoff numbers, but that's just what gets stuck in people's minds. Like whenever, Harden gets bounced in the second round, Giannis gets bounced. That's just what people run to. They're like, no, they don't deserve that. So if they had the awards before the playoffs really get into the swing of things, then I think that would just be better. But anyways, off on a tangent. Back to Kawhi. So he's going to be the biggest piece, I think, obviously, for them being the Finals MVP. I would like to see him stay with the Raptors if I had the say in it. So Kawhi, stay with the Raptors. I think that would be his best chance to, build a solid foundation with the Raptors, just with the team in general. I think a lot of people want him to go to the Clippers, or that's just the word on the street. But I think just going from the Raptors to the Clippers would just be strictly a downgrade from what he has with the Raptors. Like you'll have Montrezl Harrell, you'll have Patrick Beverley, maybe if he doesn't sign with someone else. You have a young core that's going to be good, but the Raptors, you got Marc Gasol, you got Siakam, who's super young and is improving every year. Van Vliet, solid role player. You got Kyle Lowry, who he shows up when he shows up. In the regular season, he's good. And in the playoffs, he's kind of wishy-washy, but he's solid. Serge Ibaka is great when he wants to be. So I don't know. I just think him staying with the Raptors would be good. There's also word on the street that he maybe going to the Lakers, but that's literally every free agent or superstar is rumored to go to the Lakers. Whatever team LeBron is on, it's like, oh, he may be the next person to join LeBron in their quest to the championship. I don't see it happening. Like I said earlier, I think the Lakers need to focus on just getting a solid squad around LeBron and AD. Get some depth, get some shooters, get some defenders. Granted, Kawhi is all of those things, but he's one dude. And if one dude goes down, like you saw with the Warriors, you spend all this money on 2 or 3 guys, then what do you have left if one of them goes down? You just have a bunch of role players that aren't going to be able to step up and fill that hole. So I would rather have 2 or 3 solid players to back up someone than have just one superstar with LeBron and AD. Like granted, there's different situations and scenarios where you'd rather have that superstar, but in this case, I think their best bet would just to get some solid playmakers and some solid defenders. But in Kawhi's case, I would like to see him just stay with the Raptors. I think that's his best choice, in my opinion. Golden State. So I think they're going to offer Clay the max. It's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of deal with this next season, with Clay going to miss most of the season, probably until playoffs. And even then, I mean, he's not going to be the same guy. Granted, he can still just shoot threes. I mean, that can be his role when he comes back, because he's not going to be the same player, at least not right away. And he's definitely not going to be able to be the same defender coming off of a torn ACL trying to move laterally really quickly. It's going to be rough. KD's going to miss the whole season. So the question now is, do they go ahead and move on from KD now and kind of take that, PR hit, or like, oh, they're not loyal and it's a business and you got to remember that. I mean, it is a business. I mean, they're going to make the best decision for the Warriors, regardless of, how you feel about it personally. So that'll be interesting to see if they can do anything with him or re-sign him. I think they may offer Clay the max. I think he deserves it. He's been a solid player for them. I think he was a pretty late pick. I think it was like a late first round or second round pick. I'm not sure. But yeah, he's definitely overperformed what he was expected to. He's been a great NBA player. But it would actually be interesting. I would like to see him on another team just to see how he would perform, maybe as like the guy, or just in a different system, to kind of see how he would flourish if he would. I think that would be interesting to see. So I don't know. I would like to see that. So Ja, I think, this probably isn't a hot take. I'm sure other people have the same opinion, but I think he's going to be the more decorated player, and he'll be more successful overall in the NBA than Zion will. I think Ja just has all those intangibles that you look for in a player that you can't really find in a lot of players. Granted, Zion is like a once in a generation caliber player as far as athleticism goes. He's super explosive, as everybody's seen on his highlight videos since he's been in high school. He's going to be great in the NBA also. I just think Ja is just a better basketball player. He just kind of has, I don't even know how to put it into words. We'll just see we'll see how the season goes, and then I'll return to this and revisit my expectations and how it goes. But I think the Grizzlies is a good spot for him, unfortunately, because it's in the same division as the Rockets, which I'm not excited about. But I'm also excited to see how he does. I think them shipping off Conley was a good move for them, even though it sucks to see him go because he's been such a solid player for them for so long. I think he's been, one of the most overlooked players. I don't want to really say underrated because everybody knows that he's good. I just think when you think of good players in the NBA, Mike Conley isn't one of the first ones you think about. And I don't know. I just think he's been kind of overlooked. But it'll be cool to see him in Utah and see what he can do alongside Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, I'm super excited to see Ja on the Grizzlies and kind of see how they build around him. It'll be interesting to see. So on the opposite end of the spectrum here of guys that I'm not high on, RJ. I don't know. So I heard about the hype of him. Didn't really know who he was in high school, like before he got to the college. I don't really follow, high school prospects very closely. I don't even really follow college all that much. Just like the main people that make headlines. I'm more of a NBA guy, but hearing the hype of RJ it made me want to watch Duke games to see, like what's he going to be like? What's he like? So I saw Zion. It's hard to miss what he does every game because he's so explosive. He gets, looks like he's activating his game breaker every time he gets a block or gets a fast break. Expect to hear the NBA Street Volume 2 music pop out. But with RJ, I don't know. He just never. Every time I watch him, I watch a game and I watch for those plays where I just see like, oh yeah, this guy's he's gonna be good. But I never saw that with him, and I've watched a pretty good amount of their games. He had a couple solid games in the tournament, but I just think his hero ball type thing that he does kind of is holding him back, and I may be wrong because maybe when he finally got on a team with someone else who was as good or better than him, kind of shocked him, I guess, because when you're that good for so long, since you were like 5 years old, since you like picked up a basketball, it would probably be weird to be the guy until you get to college, and it's like boom, now you're overshadowed by someone else who's talked about all the time and hyped up more than you are, even though you were one of the top prospects coming out of high school. And I think he tried to be too good. He tried to be better than he was, I think. He tried to take over late in games, even if it was detrimental to his team. He didn't run the right plays. He wasn't in the right spots. He forced the ball too much. That's just what I saw. Those were my observations. And I'm sure some other people saw it too, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he does on the Knicks. I'm just not super high on him. I don't think he's going to be a number 3 pick for the Knicks. I mean, I hope I'm wrong because I don't want to see players do poorly in the NBA, but I won't be at all surprised if he doesn't pan out like they think he will. So that's my thoughts on that. And that's my thoughts on everything for this week. So yeah, that's all I got for today. I went for 37 minutes. Not bad. It's longer than I thought it would be. Cool. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you're on YouTube, listening on for the podcast. Once again, my socials are right down there. At Swing It Pod on Twitter, at Swing It Podcast on Instagram. Yeah, I'll be recording these every Thursday. I'll be posting them on the weekends, so we should be good to go. I'll be on a schedule for it. So make sure you guys tune in if you enjoy it. If you guys do want to leave me feedback for things you would like to see me talk about, possibly, or different topics you want me to touch on, anything, just let me know. Just at me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, comment on the video on YouTube, however you want to do it, and I'll try to keep it into consideration. But yeah, thank you guys for listening and watching, and I will see you guys next week.